So today, viewers, we're in the Abingdon area, and what more appropriate to video than one of the last cars to come off the line at the MG factory in Abingdon, the iconic MGB GT.
Welcome to Beards and Bangers.
Well, hello there. It is Beards and Bangers, and as you will have seen from that very short introduction, I'm here not a million miles from home in the Abingdon area with one of Abingdon's last cars. And this is a very late, we're going to be having a look at a very late MGB GT. So it's on a, spin you around, it's on a W plate, so it's early 80s. There was a delay in this car being built and then being registered, but these things happen. It's a bit of an MG Rover, British Leyland thing. But yeah, pewter grey MGB GT. Of course, the MGB started in 1962 using an engine that was first designed in 1947. And the MGB initially came in just the Roadster version, so a two-seat convertible with the ubiquitous B series engine. Now this car's late 70s, early 80s, but it's still got that really strong B series engine under the bonnet. But let's have a little look around this one, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of the MGB. So obviously we all know the MGA, for me, one of the prettiest sports cars ever conceived. But of course, BMC, British Motor Corporation, were looking for a replacement for it in the late 1950s. Now, the MGA was one of the last, I think it was the last MG built with a body on chassis. And the MGB that we see here was one of the first monocoque or unitary body cars that MG produced. So it gives you a much more robust chassis. It means the car's stronger. I think back in the day, this car would have been really good in impact tests. Obviously, by modern standards, it's not going to be the greatest, but it's not a daily driver. They can be daily drivers because they are most certainly a practical classic. This of course is a later one, so in the mid-70s the MGB received rubber bumpers and an increased ride height, and that's to satisfy US safety regulations. How things have changed now, and the US don't worry so much about emissions and that kind of thing. But just look at the styling. So I think it was a Michelotti design for this hood, for the hardtop, sorry. But it's just an iconic car, and you don't go to a British car show, car meet without seeing loads of these things, because there's still plenty left in various shapes, styles and conditions. This one belongs to a friend of mine, Chris, who I call Chris Lackapeel Taylor in a lot of my videos, but this is one of his little projects. Really nice looking car. So this is in pewter, this colour. It's not perfect, but it goes well. We'll take it out for a drive in a minute. So we have a look at the MGB styling. I'm one of the people who like the rubber bumper MGBs. I'll probably get a lot of hate for saying that, but I actually really like rubber bumpers. I think it's a generation thing. You know, when I was a kid growing up, chrome bumpers and all that kind of stuff was disappearing fast. But we've got this rather nice sort of splitter front bumper intake stroke radiator area, and I actually really like it. You've got these lovely recessed headlights. Don't know what they're like. It's bright sunshine now, so we're not going to test those out. This has got some limited edition wheels on it, which are lovely, and Chris has actually repainted those himself. And we've got this the applique down the side, so it's sort of one of the late limited editions. They were beginning to phase out production, and you get a few cars. I think there's a British Racing Green series as well with gold trim. These pewter ones have this kind of silver trim, and we've got these lovely lines, lovely iconic style tail lights, and then this old-fashioned number plate holder. Chris has got a custom exhaust on this. It's done by Rich's Fabrication Shop in Abingdon. And that does sound nice. We've actually had Chris has driven over here. I've driven the car a bit already, so we're just having a mess around, which is rather nice. But beautiful cars, beautiful styling. They are iconic. It's a car that I have not driven for years. I did own one of these when I was 15, but so it's probably not the first time I've driven one since then. But it certainly certainly a while since I've driven MGB, and just having spent 20 minutes driving this morning, I've got a smile on my face, I think it's fair to say. So we'll pop the bonnet, we'll have a little look in the bonnet, we'll have a look in the boot, we'll have a look at the interior, and then, viewers, we will get out and give it a drive. So under the bonnet, we're greeted with plenty of space, but we're greeted with this engine, BMCB series. I think they started out in 1947 on the Austin A40 in 1.2 litre form. So they were 1.2 to 1.8. Of course, in the B we've got the 1.8. Some people do bore these out to about 2 litres and put bigger carbs on either HS6 or a Weber. To give it a bit more grunt. This is standard, apart from a couple little modifications. So we've got a replacement rocker cover, which is fine, that's a serviceable item. I won't touch it because it's going to be hot, but we've got this custom exhaust manifold, and I think it really does show when you drive this car. We'll get out in a minute and hear it because it does sound pretty nice. But yeah, everything's laid out really simply. You've got space to get your hands in and do work. I love the bladder we've got for the screen wash, which does work. So rather than a wash bottle, we've got this kind of, I don't know what material you call that, but it's like a bladder of fluid. We've got our radiator expansion tank thingy-majig there. We have got servo assisted brakes, so that's over there. There's our great big blower for our fan, and we've got twin HS4 SU carburetors. So great setup. One of my favourite setups, those two carbs like that. And we've got our lovely engine bay with this quite narrow bonnet lid, sorry, but just because it's narrow, you've still got lots of space in there, so it's really different to what we see with modern engine bays. I mean, some cars don't even have a bloody engine now. If we have a little look in the boot, we have got, this is a GT, of course, so it is a Grand Tourer, and we've got, okay, we haven't got the deepest boot in the world, but we've got a shelf here, which is a really convenient height. If you're going away for a weekend, you chuck your suitcase or your overnight bag in there and you're sorted out. But yeah, really, practical. We've got this almost hatchback-like design. Jumping in, I have to say, these are easier to get in and out of than an MGTF, but that's probably just a middle-aged thing. We've got our lovely door with chrome handle. We've got our wing mirrors mounted on the doors, and we've got these lovely quarter lights, which we'll see a bit more in a second. In the door itself, got handle, windy window, and a little speaker. And then jumping in, this is where things get really good. Got in there fairly easily. So we've got an array of Smith's instruments. So we've got our temperature, we've got our rev counter, and that's redlining at about 5,500 RPM. We've got our fuel gauge, we've got a speedo, and we've got oil pressure. So lovely, typical kind of British design of the period, lots of gauges, which we like. We've got our instrument, someone's in trouble. They caught up with me finally. Got our instrument light brightness there. We've got our lockable choke. We've got a little interior light, 12-volt socket, and then we've got our fan, hazard warnings. I think that's interior light, that one. We've got fog light and heated rear window. We've got a lovely little glove compartment with some Lucas spares in there. Chris has added an aftermarket stereo. I think that's absolutely fine. If you want CDs, or you've got CDs, or you want to use USB, all that kind of stuff, it's an acceptable thing to do. I know some people back in the day were like, no, you mustn't do that. You've got to have period correct. But I think it's fine to have that kind of stereo setup. Pedals are down here, quite big and well spaced out. They are slightly skewed to the right, a bit like a BMW, so it just took me a little bit of time just to get used to that. Driven over here in my 190 this morning, so it just took a bit of time to get used to the new pedals. We've got this lovely little shelf, so you've got the kind of the temperature, sorry, direction of the air clock and heater temperature down here, and then a couple of warning lights. I think that's your brake and your something else there, can't read that. And then we've got the gear stick behind that. Between the two, you've got this little shelf area, so if you're at a car show, that is the ideal place to put a pint. Once you've had your pint, you can put your cigar out in there, and we've got a little armrest, which is very nice and in exactly the right spot, ideal for keeping cables and screwdrivers. And of course, this being a 2+2, we have got a little bench seat in the back, although good luck to anyone with any more than short legs. There's not a lot of room, but I think that was a thing for insurance purposes. We've got vinyl roof covering, which is very nice indeed. So that really is the inside and outside of the MGB. I think without further ado, it's time to move the camera and get out there and give it a drive. Right, we're in the car now, going to go for a drive. Let's just give it a turn over. That is a pleasing sound, I like that. Now I'm a bit used to the clutch as well. It's good. We're in a little car park, so we'll get out here and then get it on the open road. But I just forget how much I love the sound of that B series engine. And of course that engine, I said earlier in the video, started life in the Austin A40. But of course it ended up in the Wolseley 1500, Riley 1.5. It ended up in a lot of cars. And of course you've got to remember, you've got a long bonnet, so that is a very, very pleasing sound. And this car is sprightly. I think that custom exhaust manifold has made a hell of a difference. Chris is sitting next to me, as you can probably see. Say hello, Chris.
Hello.
I've got to make sure I get the gear changes right, but this is lovely. Once you get used to the gearbox, and it's very, very short throws, very, very nice. This car's got guts. It really has. Like that. Because you've got the higher ride height, it is very forgiving over bumps. Now the roads round rural Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire are atrocious at the moment. I think actually for once Oxfordshire is worse than Buckinghamshire. So Chris lives in Oxfordshire, I live in Buckinghamshire, so there's a little bit of rivalry between the two counties. But yeah, the roads in Oxfordshire are shocking. And luckily the suspension on this thing is very forgiving. The steering is very direct, and I think it wouldn't take too much with this example to get the rear wheels to light up in the right conditions. But I think it's lovely. And this, if you were going to buy a historic vehicle, and these are now tax-free because they are over 40 years old, like me. Could you use this car every day? Yes, you could. It's practical. It's got enough go. It's quick enough to keep up in modern traffic. I think the only thing you might be a bit cautious about is the MPG. I think on a B series B, you're lucky to get 25 miles per gallon. But blimey, we've all driven cars that are worse than that. I know the way I drive my modern MG, my ZT190, there is no way that I'm getting 25 miles to the gallon. That is quite addictive. I like that. So would I buy an MGB GT? Of course I bloody would. I buy everything. Would I buy one right now? Probably not. But would I recommend you buy one if you're looking at one? Yes, absolutely, because they are fun to drive, they're powerful enough to keep up with modern traffic. The spares and club support for these cars is brilliant. You've got MG Owners Club spares, you've got rimmers, you've got so many places to get parts. You can even buy new shells for these if you really want to. They're not cheap, and I've just lost a GoPro. Oh my God. Right, any aspiring YouTubers out there, if you are mounting cameras to the outside of the car, do use a tether, unlike me. That's one knackered GoPro. Hopefully, and in the interests of YouTube, the memory card's still all right, but never mind. So going back to this wonderful car before that slight interruption for a missing GoPro. I've got the other one in now. What was I saying? Yeah, definitely get one. They are brilliant. This one's particularly nice. I think custom stainless steel exhaust is definitely the way to go with one. And don't forget, these cars have been driven by celebrities, royalty, all kinds of people. Yes, they're a common sight at a lot of classic car shows, but is that a bad thing? These cars are preserved, and that's because of the owners clubs, the MG Car Club, MG Owners Club, and the wide availability of spares. The fact I've just smashed up 250, 300 quid's worth of camera equipment is not diminishing my enjoyment of driving this car. I've still got a massive smile on my face, because this thing is bloody lovely. But for now, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share with your friends, drop a comment down below, and I will see you again very soon on the next episode of Beards and Bangers. Goodbye.